Greetings and welcome back to the Aeon Drive Tournament. I am Katherine Of Sky and I am here with the wonderful Avalon, and we are here to see the match between Miracle and Dregn.
Yes, guys, I'm so sorry that we're running a bit behind schedule today. Unfortunately, there has been a few cancellations, but here we are for this top 32 match, where we're going to see who's actually going to progress into the final stages of this tournament. So because this is a top 32 match, it will be played across 30 minutes on one level, where the guys get the chance to find the best route and then optimize their time. And I believe we're going to be going for a Sector 2 level, which is going to be quite interesting, a bit of difference in graphics to what we've seen over the past couple of days.
Yeah, we've noticed some different color schemes, the background's slightly different, there's some different props in each of the levels, really kind of differentiating each of the sectors from each other. And I don't know if we've actually seen this Sector 2 level yet, so it's going to be fun to kind of check it out.
Yeah, no, this is a first time that we're going to be seeing this late into Sector 2. We've seen some of the earlier Sector 2 levels previously, but like I say, first time we're going to see 2-9. So that's going to be awesome just to get a chance to look at it. So the runners are just setting up with their level selection, and then we're going to have a brief countdown for them, and then we're going to get straight into this. It's going to be a really good game, and I have been waiting for a game for a while, so it better be close.
Yes, unfortunately, we've had so many cancellations, and it's been like, no, we want to commentate. We want to just show off this game because it's absolutely awesome. Now, the game is coming out, I believe, tomorrow, so you can pick it up on Steam then. Yeah, it's now time to just, well, I guess wish list for one more day and then buy it tomorrow because so far from what we've seen, it looks super, super fun, really fluid game with really nice mechanics and lots of options for speedrunning and lots of strategic decisions that you need to make, between different kinds of movement styles and all that kind of stuff. So we're really excited for that to happen. The public is going to get their hands on the game tomorrow, and hopefully, we're going to see everybody's reaction once they finally get to play it. Hopefully they'll turn up in chat as well, and we'll get to hear what everybody else has to think of the game.
That is most certainly my hope. I want to see people who are finding new routes when they've got the time to grind and less of the pressure from the tournament. But I'm also hoping to see more people who want to play it casually, because the game itself has a storyline, and if you're not, pixel perfect with your movements and stuff like these guys have to be, you can collect these little capsules, collect 4 of them, and you get an extra 5 seconds on your clock, so you've got time to explore levels, you've got time to look around and just learn how the game works. And there's also quite a decent learning curve for it. So the primary feature of the game is, of course, this dash dagger, where the character you'll see there, Dregn, throwing his dagger forward, and then immediately warping to it. There is a slight frame sort of animation there that slows you down, so it's not necessarily always the fastest option, but quite often it is a lot faster than just walking along.
Indeed, there are a number of movement skills that they can use to get forward. One of them is also the sort of slide on the ground, which is a little bit faster than running as well. But on some areas where you have a very tiny amount of platform or the distance is not far to go, then you may want to skip some of those animations and choose a different method in order to get by much more quickly. Now, we are seeing some of the other issues to a speedrun like this, where you have moving obstacles, both enemies as well as sort of hazards in the environment, like the fire bars that you see moving up and down, and the saws, and our players have to make sure that they go at exactly the right speed, because if they go too fast or too slow, they may run into those and their entire run might be compromised by having a different speed in getting there.
That's exactly it, yeah. And, like you say, these moving parts, this saw that you're seeing here with Dregn is a prime example. If you wanted to throw your dash dagger down diagonally to warp into that zone, but you've turned up at the wrong time, where is that saw going to be? Is it going to hit you? Is it going to stop your dagger? It's all little things like that you've got to consider. And that's why, although 30 minutes seems like quite a long time for one level, the actual nuance of it is insanely close. They've really got to think about it. You're seeing here Miracle working out that he can skip a large section there by throwing his dagger up, but then he's too far ahead of the next laser bar, so he can't actually fit into the opening that he needs to fit into.
That was most interesting on Dragon's screen there. don't really. Did he use like a dagger to be pointed upward to go through the fire bar? That was interesting. I'm not sure what happened there. I'll have to see if Dregn does it again, because that was a very, very interesting movement that I saw. But yeah, both of them kind of trying to work out now which of the routes might be the fastest, and whether they should go bottom or middle, or which way is most advantageous to them. Let's see if Dregn... Oh, Dregn trying something to skip that fire bar early, but it doesn't actually work. I wonder if they got to that area earlier, if they'd be able to just shoot the dash dagger quicker and get through that little gap with the teeth. Oh, there we go. Okay, so they did 2 stages of dash dagger, but I'm wondering if they could have just dropped down and done just the dagger through the little teeth hole over there and see if that would work.
That is a really interesting point, Catherine, to be honest. I was thinking perhaps there's a faster way to get there, but you are absolutely right in that you could just throw the dagger directly through the laser beam. It is interesting to see the similarities these runners are finding in their early stages of the routes, both of them currently going over the top of the map. And that means that they both have to face this section, which, as you saw, their Miracle landing there a little bit later than Dregn did previously, which means that Bar was in a better place for him. Although the time was slower, it worked out a little bit better. Now you can see him testing that early point, you know, getting out of the gate quickly by throwing that diagonal dagger. And you'll see the Bar was in a much more favourable position there. These levels are built for speed, and that speed is, you know, when it's taken as a core design philosophy, it can really feel fast when things line up properly.
Indeed, that was an interesting one where they both started almost at the same time. Miracle getting to that area quite a bit slower than last time, and the fire bar being in completely the wrong area. It's an interesting thing when they're kind of working out how to do these routes, where if they go through and kind of test and then, oh yeah, this is faster because I can get through that fire bar instantly, where they actually can't, because if they start to optimize and do better movements, then all of a sudden the fire bar is in a different place and they no longer have that time save that they might have anticipated before. So it's going to be interesting to see also if they try a different route, because we haven't really seen them go downward. So I want to see if they're going to try that, and if that time is anywhere close to what this top area is ending up being.
That's something that I was wondering myself, you know. Although this route may be shorter and potentially faster, does that wait time that the players are having to face, does that actually increase the length of the run? You know, Dregn here has put on a sub-18 time, but could he get a sub-16 going the bottom route and avoiding this whole section altogether just because of that weight that comes with this fire bar? But then, as you can see here, Dregn arriving early enough to not even have to worry about the fire bar, everything just lining up. This game, again, like I said, designed for speed. Everything lines up when you're quick.
Indeed, though it does seem a little bit awkward kind of on the top side with some running sections where it's a little bit too short to do the dash underneath kind of thing. Though Dregn getting there a little bit faster, but too fast, because dropping down on that platform, the fire bar actually bit at his ankles, or toasted his ankles, I guess I should say. And he ends up dying. Instead of having a faster time, he loses the time altogether, unfortunately. And in that section also, missing the dash underneath the enemy, which you can dash underneath them safely, but it was going in the same direction as he was, and it was not timed correctly, and therefore he did it again, just like that. Wow. Thank you for Dregn for giving us that example.
Yeah, really showing your point here. And it, you know, as you said, the laser kind of scorched his ankles a little bit there, and that was an opportunity maybe for him to throw the dash dagger forwards or diagonally forward, so that you could just dash over the top of it, skip that section altogether, and that would be your little time save there. But it's this section here that Dragon's going through, and Miracle died before he reached, unfortunately. But it's that section there with the saw where I think they're losing a lot of time. There has to be a quicker way to get around this. You can't throw the dash dagger through the saw, but running around it is very slow. But again, our runners have pointed out the actual animation of teleporting is sometimes slower than running, so maybe there's no optimum place to put the dagger. Maybe there is no way to warp around this, although with the speed Dregn just managed to get through that section there, I personally think he could have got a dagger diagonally down behind the saw. But this is the sort of stuff we'll see over the next 20 minutes or so. We'll see how much more efficient do they get, how much faster do they get, and how many more daggers are they throwing.
Indeed. Dregn trying that bottom route finally, so that we have our curiosity. Oh wow, there's many things happening here. Have our curiosity satisfied, and it does look like that bottom route has a lot of stuff going on, so I'm not sure if it's going to be faster or if it just needs more optimization, obviously, because that is the name of the game. Miracle looking like they are having a really good run here. Multiple diagonal daggers there, really get it. Wow, that was quick. Oh, and only to hit that enemy at the end. That's just a shame. That could have been a really good time.
Yeah, absolutely, it could have been. And this is something that we've seen before. It comes down to your tactics. We've seen it where people have tried the same route over and over again and optimized it to near perfection, and they've come out on top. But then we've also seen it when people start to iterate, they start to look for those other routes and the other opportunities that the level gives them, and that they've then come out on top. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, has Dregn made the right decision looking at this bottom route? Because as Dregn optimizes it, they'll get faster and faster at it, and then hopefully they'll bring that time down. I mean, that time they've just matched, in fact, I think they've done more than match, yeah, 16-7-3. They've actually overtaken Miracle on that run using a different route. So has Miracle optimized as much as possible with the top route and will need to explore the bottom route? Or has Dregn still got more time to find on this bottom route with more optimization? And then it'll come down to, you know, who optimizes their route faster. Did Miracle's extra couple of minutes on the top route mean that they know the route well enough to really come through?
Indeed, and Dregn, I was just about to answer your question there. I think there's much more time to find on that bottom route, considering Dregn has only done it like 3 or 4 times just now, and there is still so much that they are learning from this course and where to do which movements, still experimenting, trying to find the best way forward, really making some good movements as well. I think the practice on the top section of that is improving the inputs here. And they're really doing really well on that bottom section. But again, we'll have to see, you know, which one ends up being faster. I wonder if Miracle is going to try the bottom route at all, or if they're going to keep on going on. It's going to be interesting to see that strategy and who does what faster or better. But yeah. Miracle still struggling on that saw section, where it's just a tiny bit awkward. Those awkward things, I don't think they feel good as a speedrunner, do they?
When you're faced with awkward situations like that, no, it doesn't feel good. When you're slowed down by the level, it feels horrible. But that's the whole point of this game, is there's often ways around these time delays. And I think that that's what's going to come. Dregn is tying the top route again now. And I think it's that saw that both of them have just passed that is really going to make the difference on this top route time. I think if they can get that saw down, and they can get a dash dagger behind the saw, the rest of this level could be opened wide up. It's just that first little bit they need to get right. But here you see,
now, why did
the laser bar
drop
Dregn
down there? Is it possible to go through the gap and the fire bar? Or do you only get one obstacle bypassed by the warp dagger?
No, you could absolutely throw your dagger there, providing that there's the range. So we'd have to take a closer look at it as they go through and actually estimate, you know, have you got the range to throw the dagger through both the bar and the spike? So when one of them reaches it again, we'll have a closer look. But they can absolutely throw the dagger if it's in range.
It looks like it would be a good thing to me, but yeah, you're right. The range has been surprising in some levels, because in previous levels we've seen before, you can throw it a very long distance, and then at other times it seems like it would probably go, but then it doesn't. So we'll just have to check it out and see if it's possible. Because that would seem like a good place where they could save at least a second, and at least one animation as well. So,
yeah, most definitely. And speaking of that sort of change and that sort of optimization, you were mentioning it earlier. Miracle now giving it a try, going that bottom route, seeing how he's doing. He's the one who knows to throw the dagger up as you climb through those moving bars, so he knows that little optimization there that Dregn never seemed to pick up on. But Dregn seems to know that top route a little bit better as well. He's throwing more down diagonal daggers than Miracle appeared to be.
Yeah, these times are definitely a far cry from other times that we have seen. Whether this is a longer level or they just haven't found all the optimizations yet, it's hard to say. But we've seen levels that are, what, sub 6 seconds or something like that? Really quick ones.
What happened?
Yeah, we've seen some insanely fast times in this, and you know, like, these guys, they are doing the right things, they're getting those frames right, but because they're dying so often with little mistakes, we're not seeing them complete these runs, we're not seeing them get to the end. So, although they might optimize that beginning, they might optimize avoiding this flying robot with the diagonal knife and then through the gap, as Miracle just perfectly demonstrated my point, but because they're making the mistakes and hitting the enemies and the fire bars, this end section here is not optimized yet. They haven't worked out, of course, that you could just drop down. And now, having seen it on Miracle's screen a second ago, you absolutely had the range to throw it through both the bar and the spikes.
Yeah, the game is not very forgiving in that way either. As in, you don't get any second chances. You don't have hearts that you can spend to get through. If you make a mistake on the first part, get hit by an enemy, you can't just progress to the end part and try to optimize that section. You have to run every run right from the beginning. And that is probably one of the things that prevents them from maybe doing a little bit more work on the end. But hopefully they'll figure it out as they go along here. See.
That absolutely doesn't feel bad as a gameplay mechanic when the levels are this short. You know, you've got a 30-second timer maximum on these levels unless you collect the capsules. So even when you are dying, even when you are resetting the level, it's not like you're losing hours of progress. It's like back when you had Celeste as a newer game, and those tight platforming sections were a real challenge for a lot of people. Although it did kill you many times, you only reset on the screen. So it wasn't a huge penalty for death. And in games like this, where you are going to die a lot trying to perfect things, it is good to have a low penalty for death.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing really variable times on the that fire bar getting there. And I believe the timer is universal. So if they're getting there late, it means they got there later than before. So I'm really surprised that there is such a variation that we're seeing in getting past stuff. Wow, Miracle getting to the saw early, finding that absolutely faster time there through that beginning section and just completely jumping over the saw. Didn't even need 2 jumps, and I think that's probably what we need to see.
And that is a new PB for Miracle, but you saw it there. Even though he just got less than 15.5 seconds, there were several moments where his character stood still. There were several opportunities there to further optimize that route, and that's what we're going to be looking for. It was stuff like, as he jumped over the saw, there was plenty of hang time to throw a diagonal knife here. You see it, there's a lot of hang time. You can get yourself to the ground faster. And then after that point, the knife hit an enemy instead of a wall, which of course slows you down because you have to catch your knife and throw it again. And little things like that, I reckon we could easily see a sub 15 time on this stage.
Oh, absolutely. It's, I think sometimes think like that one feels like such a new, like, oh my gosh, I did it, I got there early, that Miracle doesn't even think about doing the diagonal throw, which would indeed get them to the ground faster. So you kind of wonder, or unless they might be scared of throwing it at a diagonal because maybe the speed isn't enough to keep up with the speed of the saw. We don't know what Miracle is thinking at the moment, so it's kind of hard to tell, but it would be interesting to see if they try it out and see if that does improve their time at all. Like right there, it seemed like there was plenty of time to throw the dagger there.
Yeah, Miracle is definitely working on perfection now. The amount of times that I've just watched them reset coming out of the start gate because one of the daggers on this climb hasn't worked out perfectly. They are clearly going for it, and the diagonal down dagger went. It did connect, but he didn't teleport to it in time and still got killed by the saw. But that is it. That is where that time difference is going to come, is that little optimization. But Dregn still going down this bottom route, and the thing with this bottom route is, as you just saw, there's a very small gap to throw the dash dagger through. And if you can get that first time and optimize everything else, I think this route could be very, very quick. And if Dregn had stuck with that route the whole time and optimized it, I think that bottom route would have been faster, but harder to beat.
Right. That, yeah, Miracle doing that, perfecting that down diagonal dagger there, really trying to shave off the seconds. And I agree with you. I wonder if Dregn had stayed with the bottom route, if they would have gotten a little bit further. But there are still 13 minutes left in this match. So I'm sure that's lots of time for Dregn to keep on working something. Now Dregn moving into the top route again. One wonders if they keep going, switching between section to section, are they going to perfect either of them? So that's something they also have to think about. They probably have to commit at some point in order to keep the muscle memory intact and kind of, progress onward.
Yeah, that's absolutely it, Catherine. And that's the one concern I have. We talked about 30 minutes being quite a long time for them to learn these levels and learn those perfections that they need to get. But when you're constantly changing your route like that, you're losing those micro decisions that you were making previously subconsciously. And where now Miracle probably isn't thinking about this start. They just know what they aim to achieve and whether they've achieved it or not, and then they continue or reset depending on that. But where Dregn has switched back and forth, they're going to have to be thinking about every decision. They're not going to start to just subconsciously pick these up with that muscle memory that you mentioned.
And Dregn is now so far behind that, or at least on that last run, that the fire bar, I think, is probably a full cycle back from where Miracle's is, judging from their start. If you notice how Miracle does those diagonal daggers, Dregn has been... Now, Dreg's changing route. Dregn, come on! You're not working with my commentary here. No, Dregn is doing these very horizontal movements. They have to wait for the saw. They have to jump before and after, and it's much slower overall, whereas Miracle just zapping up above through those fire bar little corridor, I don't know what you would call them, almost like little rooms there. And it looks very fluid, very nice, and then going with the diagonal again through, past the saw, past the barbed wire, and all of that, it looks much more like a speed run than the very awkward, like, okay, let's slide, let's jump, let's run. Like, it's very, very awkward on Dreg's side here. Hopefully they pick up on that and kind of reinvent the diagonal warp daggers, but so far they're not trying it, and I'm really surprised about that.
Yeah, and where they both started so close together and they're about to do it again, you can see the difference in speed, where Dregn is jumping, slashing, throwing, jumping, whereas Miracle's like throw, dash, throw, dash, throw. It's immediate. It's so much speed out of the gate that, irrelevant of how much Dregn optimizes the latter part of the level, whilst Miracle was gaining like a whole half second there at the beginning, I don't think that it's going to make enough of a difference unless Dregn gets that beginning part of the level down. There was a point there where I thought Miracle was going to go sub 15, where the perfect opening occurred. The dagger was thrown down over the back of the saw, but then unfortunately just missing a warp at the end and hitting the firebar.
Yeah, and those are the disappointing moments, I think, for any speedrunners. Like, you have this perfect run, and then it's like, oh no, I missed the thing. Darn it. But that's the whole, I guess, craft of speedrunning, is to take it as you go, because you will die a lot. You will fail a lot. Like, a lot. You may need thousands and thousands of runs to get a record or win in a tournament. Obviously, this tournament is not long enough to do thousands of runs, but if you're speedrunning other games, you will have to do that kind of thing. But I think by and large, speedrunners really enjoy it because they love the game, they love the movement, and they like challenging themselves as well as their competitors so that they can get just better and better at the games that they've chosen. Wow, Miracle, disappointed there, hoping to... Yes! No, I thought Miracle was like, darn, I missed that thing. Let's try getting a dagger into the snack machine and get a little bit of a pick-me-up in the form of an energy drink or something. So,
yeah, that final crawling enemy really does make that final dagger throw a little bit of a challenge there. You can see the difference in speed, though, in that final section where Dregn is dropping down. There's no dagger throw. He just lets gravity do its thing. Whereas Miracle's really forcing it, really throwing the dagger down, forcing the player back onto the ground so that they can get their next movement lined up, while the slow air time that Dreg's taking is going to continuously up how long it takes him to do each of these levels.
Indeed, you feel like Miracle's really hungry for it, really trying to get the best time they can, because they can see how close it is. And I forgot if Dregn had gotten their best time on the bottom route, or was it the top route? Was it the bottom? It might have been. But Miracle doesn't know that. So Miracle might be just trying to shave off every fraction of a second there, knowing that Dregn is hot on their heels, trying to snatch that time and win this section of the tournament. So I think
Most
that's why
definitely.
we see that movement at the end there. That is just so risk-taking and trying to go as fast as possible.
Yeah, and you know, like you just highlighted, they can see. Oh, that was a beautiful dagger throw there from Dregn. It wasn't fast enough because of the beginning, but that was a 15-7-9. But the dagger went over the top of that final enemy that's been causing Miracle so many problems. But like you say, you know, they can see the leaderboard each time they complete the level. They can see how close they are. They can see, you know, for Dregn, they can see you're only a third of a second behind, which must be really getting into his head at this point. Why can't he beat him? Why can't he get this extra couple of seconds off? Whereas Miracle will see it as Dragon's right on my heels. How can I make this a little bit faster? And I think that was a little bit faster.
Oh, I think it was.
So for the time, yeah, 14-12, not just sub 15, but nearly a whole second faster than his previous personal best. That was fast.
I picked up on that last dagger throw just as you talked about it just seconds before, and I was like, oh, that looked perfect to me. Like you said, letting gravity do its thing, getting on that first block, and then having that perfect dagger throw over the enemy. Obviously combining it with the good movement in the previous part of the level to get a new low.
Yeah,
Dregn
has dropped a new low as well, but although the dashboard hasn't updated yet to show Miracle's time, Dregn is still behind, and that must have been so upsetting for him after knocking nearly a whole second off his time to find Miracle still ahead of him. I can't imagine how frustrating that was. You must have put that time on, thought, yes, just over 15 seconds, I finally beat him, and then Miracle's gone and beat another PB there, 14:07 now.
Oh, this is just the rat race, isn't it? It's like, no, I finally got the thing. Oh, no, they beat me again. Sad times. Oh my goodness. And you see the frustration with Dregn. Obviously seeing that time is like, wow, what am I doing wrong? Now trying the bottom route to see maybe this is what's faster, because Dregn doesn't know what Miracle is doing. So they just kind of have to guess and like, okay, where are they? What are they doing? What level? Or what area of the level are they going? And maybe thinking that the bottom is faster. But yeah, we'll see how that ends up being.
14. That's 13 seconds, 0.99. Or 9.8 in fact. What an incredible run from Miracle. Just shaving off microsecond after microsecond, and that is the level of perfection that this game demands. But it means that he's also growing that lead against Dregn, which is going to continuously demoralize him. That's the thing about these races and these tournaments, is it's not typical speedrunning. You're not just against yourself and a clock. You're against yourself, the clock, your opponent, and your own attitude. If you become demoralized, you start making these mistakes like Dregn is starting to do. You start panicking about your route, you start doubting your decisions, and then you start exploring like Dregn is now. But we've already seen how fast Miracle can get through this top section. So can Dregn even come close to that when he's been switching between these sections? He's not worked on optimizing anything. He's just constantly jumped back and forth, and I think that's going to really harm him in the long run.
Yeah, I think here we're seeing the sort of panic or frustration or whatever, desperation maybe, of like, you know, really got a good time on the other route, and then it's like, whoa, no, he's already ahead of me. How do I get past this? And like you said, not being able to make those micro decisions automatically, not being able to just like fluidly go. This is kind of, it feels very panicky to me to like choose a different route with just, I don't know, well, I guess 5 minutes left on the clock when he did start going down. But yeah, we'll see if it pays any dividends. But I'm actually kind of worried for Dregn, because Miracle has been really perfecting that upper route, and I'm not sure if they can surpass that time with the amount of time that there is left in the match.
Especially when they're still just lazily jumping over the top of pillars in that middle section there. I appreciate they're trying a new route and they might be testing things out, but in a race that's this close and speeds that are this high, you cannot afford to just jump over something. There has to be a downward diagonal dagger where it's possible to throw them. You just can't get away with not throwing that dagger.
Indeed, and I wonder if maybe they have forgotten some of those tiny optimizations or something like that, or are not thinking of them because they are in a bit of a panic.
Yeah, exactly that. Your attitude just makes such a big difference in these races. We see it all the time when we're, we also do a lot of Mario Maker stuff, and sometimes one runner will finish the level after another runner's just set a world record on it, and they'll see it, and you'll just see it in their face, you'll see it in their gameplay, that once they've seen that they are that far behind, and the other runners putting times up above them, that they just can't come back from it. And that's what I imagine Dregn is feeling, you know, after he finally broke that 15.5-second mark, brought it down to below the time that he thought Miracle was on, and then Miracle beat that time by over a second, and then again moved more time off it and grew a huge gap between the two runners. And you just got to wonder how that's affecting Dregn's mind.
Yeah, and you see there's making mistakes and not hitting things kind of as they should be, and that's forcing also some other movements later on. But, you know, once you're kind of at the end, or once you've lost time, you can't really make it up on these very, very short levels. These aren't like, say, Super Mario Odyssey levels where there's a lot of sort of leeway in some of the movement, or, you know, you can hit one enemy maybe or not another enemy or whatever. With the times so very tight, it has to be perfect. Oh, look at this, Dregn going over the top of that section. I don't know if we've seen that before. But that was interesting. I wonder if that was going to be faster, because Dregn was kind of very slow on the bottom section. I was going to say struggling, sort of. But yeah, that didn't work out. And now moving up again to the top route. I definitely feel the desperation here. 1 minute 32 left on the clock. And I suspect Dregn doesn't know what to do at this point, as in like, wow, that bottom section wasn't working. Let's just go top again. But I feel like they might have lost the muscle memory for that section already, since they've been playing the bottom section for a good, I don't know, 7 minutes or something like that. Or 4 minutes,
and it's so quick. And you've got to consider as well that both of these players are incredibly good players. There were 4,000 people in the early stages of this tournament. And you can see just how much skill needs to go into this, with Miracle now reaching the point where as soon as one dagger doesn't land where they want, as soon as one dash is messed up, they're resetting the level. They're doing a really bad example here because they're playing the level all the way through very quickly. But just before this one, you'll see now, oh, nope, they go for the finish, but just before, they missed one dagger throw and they immediately reset. They didn't go through the screen loads, they didn't get any of that done, they just immediately reset it. And if you keep watching Miracle now, you'll see them reset over and over when something just doesn't go perfectly. And that's the attitude you've got to have.
Right, and they have been perfecting this level. They know which moves to make in each of the sections, and I feel like Dregn really lost out on that because of trying too many routes, and not committing to one and really perfecting one of them, because both of the routes look like they have maybe similar times. The bottom one doesn't seem extremely slow. So if Dregn had kept at that one, it might have led to a different result. But as we see, Miracle is definitely going to take this match by over a second. And yeah, they're going to move on to the next bracket in the tournament.
Yeah, a truly huge gap there. And you just saw as well, Dregn on the top route finally throwing the dagger to get around the saw, but it was too little too late. Too much time spent exploring the level, not enough time spent perfecting the route. And like you say, the two routes could have been very similar in time. I couldn't tell from what I saw in this which one was faster. But out of these two runners, Miracle was the faster player. The inputs were so strong from them as an individual. It was very, very good. So that means that, of course, Miracle will be advancing into the top 16 of this tournament as we're getting closer and closer to our climax to find who will be the first ever champion of Aeon Drive.
Right, they will face off against Glenn Jammin in the top 16, and we hope to see that match later. I forget if it's tomorrow or the next day, but or today or tomorrow, pardon me. But we are really looking forward to seeing that match, and we have heard it is definitely tomorrow. So we hope you will join us then to see that one. But in the meantime, we have some more matches to see today. So we will leave you to our next friendly commentators who will be with you shortly.